Hey guys, King of Charmander's here, and now you are staring at possibly one of the deadliest things in the Love Cup. Sadly, just when we think we can escape Razor Leaf or Grasshole, unfortunately it comes back to haunt us every time. Enter Shadow Vileplume, which by unlikely Niantic's grace, it's been allowed in the Love Cup. So this thing is a grass poison type with a lot of attack and actually a decent amount of stamina. And of course it's a grass poison type, which most Grassholes are, and it's incredibly powerful. With Shadow Razor Leaf, you already know, it does a ton of damage. Now it has a few weaknesses: Fire, Flying, Ice, and Psychic. These aren't actually that present in the Love Cup, unless it's things like Charizard, which is pretty much the only thing. Now, the thing that makes this thing so annoying is that it resists grass, it resists electric, fairy, fighting, and water. Basically, it's the basically, it resists, like, every other popular typing that's in the Love Cup. So, it resists the Charmers, it resists the Fighters, Alola, Electrode, and other grass types. So, it's ironically kind of like the anti-meta to the Charm meta, which is just pretty funny if you think about it. Now, of course, Razor Leaf is your bread and butter. It literally cuts through Pokemon like a knife through butter, or a leaf through butter, to be more accurate. It has Sludge Bomb, Solar Beam, Petal Blast. It also has Moon Blast. So it has Moon Blast, which can debuff you. It has a wide variety of moves, and it has Petal Blast to lower your attack. It's a beast, and unfortunately, it is allowed for the Love Cup. Now, is Grasshole going to be very dominant? Because you compare this thing with the other two Charmers and create a whole lot of hell for all of your opponents. Alright, here's PetePoke.com rankings, and Shadow Vileplume actually ranks at number 20 overall. It's actually pretty high up there. As you see, Shadow Vileplume shreds through Alola, Wigglytuff, Clefable, Electrode. So basically the Charmers, Alola, and Electrode. So it shreds through a lot of leads. You get a positive lead with it, it's probably going to Shadow Razor Leaf you to death. Now, ironically, it will lose to Medicham XL in the One Shield just because of Ice Punch. Charizard, things like Scrafty, just because it does outpace you, but it just really depends on shield scenarios, etc. If this thing has shields and has 2 shields and you don't have any of these, you're in trouble because it's going to just shred through you like butter. As you see, it's pretty good as a lead, as a closer. I wouldn't use it as a switch. If you're going to switch, well, if you're going to use a Shadow Razor Leaf, it's just basically like how you shred through Azu and Open Greatly. You see an Alola thrown into you, Shadow Razor Leaf. You see an Electro thrown into you, throw your Shadow Razor Leaf. Rock, paper, Razor Leaf. So, as you see here, it rates at number 15, beating what I mentioned before. It's pretty high up there because, like I mentioned, if you get a pause match with it, locked into it, it's just going to shred you down. As far as closers go, Shadow Vileplume is also at level 56. So Shadow Vileplume, as you see, destroys the Charmers, Electric Users, etc. And now, not so much as a switch, even though ironically it's number 22. Like I said, if you throw it into a positive matchup, you are going to turn whatever is in front of you into the next sushi dish for the buffet that is set for that night, or your sets. So sadly, this thing is actually incredibly powerful and can create pretty much a rise of Grasshole if it decides you have one and you decide to use it. Alright, here's the PetePoke.com matrix. As you see here, we have Shadow Vileplume. You want Sludge Bomb so that you can KO... well, if you get enough energy to KO with Sludge Bomb. Oh man, there's a lot of things you can do with Shadow Vileplume. Okay, we got... this is literally, like, you want to run the Shadow one just to, like, shred your opponent. As you see here, as I always say, please consider knowing PetePoke.com. Here's the 2 shield, we're just gonna run it. As you see here, water dies to grass. And if you get Shadow Razor Leaf locked into a Alola, unfortunately, the pink fishy is going to die really, really fast. Of course, Charizard is one of the things you have to watch out for, so is Sunny Churm, just because Sunny Churm's Bullet Seeds plus those Weather Balls are going to hit you really hard. As you see here, you take out... The big thing is that you take out so many things. Okay, so you actually take out Lickitung. I don't know why Lickitung is like the god of like not being dead, but as you see here, you actually beat Lickitung in a 2-shield. So you take out a majority of the meta. You take out all the Charmers, you take out all the Water types, you take out all the fighters in the 2-shield. This is the anti-Charmer to the Charmer. If you don't have Charizard or Sunny Churum, in the 2-shield, this thing's almost unstoppable. It's going to shred through a lot of things. In the 1-shield, as you know, with Charmers and with Shadow, basically heavy tap things. As you lose shields, you also lose effectiveness. As you see here, Charizard gives you a better chance. Crystal can also take you out. You lose against Lickitung, you will also start losing against the fighters. So without in the minus, if you could force a shield from a Shadow Vileplume, it actually starts losing effectiveness. It will still take out all the Charmers. It will still take out Alola. It also will take out Electrode. So you still still a lot of matchups that you have positive against. So even if you're down shield, even if you're on the 1-shield, it's still not too comfy up for your opponent. Now in the zeros, this is where Vileplume kinda doesn't do a lot of justice. As you see here, you still take out Clefable, Electrode, Slowbro, and Wigglytuff, but you lose to pretty much the rest of the meta because down shields, down shields you're not gonna have much of a chance because you can get Psychic. As you see here, in the closer, Alola Mola will have a chance to Psychic you, and that Psychic will KO you. So as you see here, you just shred through, shred, but unfortunately, Alola Mola has so much HP that's actually able to hit a Psychic, and then you go down. So, if you're not in a 2-shield, Shadow Vileplume starts losing effects. However, you still win against Charmers. So, if your opponent has a Charmer in the back and you lock it against Shadow Vileplume, unfortunately, Shadow Vileplume is able to pretty much wall the Charmers unless they have energy for a charge move. If you get, yeah, it's very bad. Now, if you give it Shield Advantage, here's what happens. If you have Shield Advantage, you wreck most of the meta, except for Crustle. Crustle actually gets us. So the thing about Crustle, as you see here, for Crustle, it has to bait you. So for Crustle, if you do shield the Avalanche, here's what happens: Shadow Vileplume wins. So in the 1-0s, Crustle is a bait-dependent matchup. You give a Shadow Razor lead for 2 shields, it still won't take out Fire Spin Charizard. However, this is what's nuts. In the 2-0s, you beat the entire meta except for Fire Spin Charizard. Yes, so instead of Fire, you actually beat Lickitung, as you see here. This is where Shadow Vileplume is a nightmare. If you give it 2 shields versus the Charmers, it can take out a majority of the meta, minus things that resist Shadow Razor Leaf, and it can even take out Wing Attack Charizard. Wing Attack Charizard tries its best, but even then, it will get shredded, and you can hit it with a Sludge Bomb, which will effectively KO Charizard. With Shield Advantage, you still do very, very well. Yes, you drop the Charizard and Churum matchups, however, you beat the rest of the meta except for other, like, Mirror Shadow Vileplume. So, it's very, very dangerous. Shadow Vileplume basically operates like the Charmers, however, ironically, it actually has more coverage in a sense. So, it's very, very dangerous. It's able to cover a wide variety. And if you put Shadow Vileplume along 2 Charmers, it probably is going to shred, especially if you are able to... Like, if you win the lead, or if you, like, match up Shadow Vileplume against positive matchup like Electrode, etc., it's gonna be... You're gonna shred through a lot of Pokemon. So, unfortunately, as you see here, it's incredibly powerful. With the 2 shields, like I said, it's able to do a lot of damage. If it has Shield Advantage, even then, like, in the 2s, like, as long as you has 2 shields, it can, like, shred through a lot. But it's it's like the anti-Charmer / anti-everything in the meta except for like Charizard, Sunny Churum, and a few things in certain shield scenarios. So it's still really, really freaking 9 out of 10. I know it kind of sucks because Shadow Razor, like, I wouldn't want to rate a Razor Leaf this high, but I have to, like, in a non-biased way. Shadow Razor Leaf is very strong. You see here, if you run the 2 shield, yes, you lose against Wormadam Trash, and then you have all of the other fire types here. However, other than the fire typings, Jinx, and just a few other things, you beat so much of the other meta. So basically, things grass, fire, some grass, some fire, and then Wormadam Trash, like bugs. You stay away from those, or you take away from those, you shred the rest of the meta in the 2 shield. You shred the Charmers, you shred the fighters, you shred every archetype except, like I mentioned, the fire, the bug, and... The fire, the bug, and basically Jinx. And just because Jinx Confusion will take you out. But if you're managed to avoid all of those, you have a very safe Shadow Razor Leafer in this meta. Because of how safe Shadow Vileplume is, I have to give it a high rating. It beats all the other archetypes. It shreds through so many things, and in the zeros, if you can land a Sludge Bomb, it deals heavy damage. So it's just a really mean mon to have for this meta. And unfortunately, because it exists, a lot of people... Shadow Charizard, or like Charizard in general, like not Shadow Charizard, but Charizard Fire, it's not a bad idea to have one on your team. You're gonna essentially have to have an anti-Charmer or an anti-Grass like Shadow Vileplume in your team anyways to stop it from being so oppressive. Unfortunately, tap strats are going to be very good in this meta, and Shadow Vileplume is basically the one besides Charmers, which will essentially just shred your opponent to oblivion. Because of this, Grasshole is very viable. Unless you're running double coverage, or if you're running double coverage against Shadow Vileplume, then you should be okay. However, this thing just beats too much of the meta outside of like 3 typings that are also very kind of like you don't want to use them because of Alola Mola and Electrode. It's a very, very dangerous meta. And I mean dangerous because of tap strats and because of Shadow Razor Leafers. If you plan on using it, it's not a bad idea. Because it's very oppressive, and it shreds through a lot, like I mentioned. If you guys like this video, please like and subscribe. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and unfortunately, we will see this thing running around. If you have one, you're probably going to see it running around the meta. You might see it, you might not, depending on, like, if everyone runs, like, Shadow Charizard, Charizard, Wing Attack Charizard, etc. However, Vileplume is still very, very powerful with 2 shields. Again, good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I'll see you guys in the next video.